Okay. Bhante, this is a question I think most of us have pondered at one time or another. The Buddha teaches that the path to enlightenment is a path of renunciation. The person who seeks enlightenment seeks to escape samsara, not to repair samsara. But at the same time, it seems that the practice of loving friendliness and compassion leads us to selflessly help others in need, and so to be actively engaged in the world of samsaric existence. Is there a tension here? What is the balance between renunciation of and engagement in samsara? I think that's a good question. You can do all you're very compassionate, as I repeat every day, those doctors, nurses, and those very generous people, they do all these things without expecting anything in return. That is how we have to practice our generosity, mindfulness, and develop our wisdom. While being in samsara and doing what we do without expecting anything in return. That is the key word. Without expecting anything in return, we do all this. For instance, you practice metta. We practice compassion. We appreciate somebody's success. We maintain equanimity, whether gaining, losing, becoming famous or not famous, and happiness, unhappiness, blame and praise, and all this we experience, we become aware of them, and knowing that all these are impermanent. Gain is impermanent, loss is impermanent, and fame is impermanent, and so forth. All these are impermanent. Knowing their impermanent nature, we understand what we are doing. Practicing metta. Practicing metta is called unconditional metta. That means we practice metta without expecting them to return our metta by practicing themselves. We don't even expect that. It is just like if you expect something, you may say, I practice metta for you if you do such and such. So that is not the real practice, metta practice. So in samsara, while living in samsara, exiting in samsara, not wishing to renew samsara, perpetuate samsara, recycle samsara, so to say, we do what we are supposed to do without greed, without hatred, and without delusion. Therefore, every intentional action we do with this intention of letting go. That is called nekkhamma sankappa. Nekkhamma sankappa. Thought of letting go of recognition, letting go of fame, letting go of reward, profit when you practice. Expect something in return and profit and gain and so forth is the material approach with the attitude of materiality or gaining something material.
If we want to liberate from samsara, we live in this world, we eat, drink, meet people and do whatever we are supposed to do. And we do this with keeping this in mind, letting go of our greed, letting go of our hatred, letting go of our delusion. With this attitude, this intention, we do whatever we do. And if you build up tension, for instance, how can I do such and such because so and so is so nasty, and so, I cannot live with this so and so. I cannot live in the same house with so and so. I cannot see so and so. If you have this kind of mentality, you are not practicing Dhamma. You are not practicing meditation. You are not practicing metta. You are just wasting time, pretending. You are pretending, not practicing. And therefore, there has to be a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, a lot of compassion, great mindfulness when you live in samsara. If you want to liberate yourself from samsara, anytime any of these negative things arises in mind, immediately let it go. Immediately. It is very natural that this unwholesome negative state can arise because we have not attained enlightenment. And therefore, knowing that they are there, as Anu said, they are there. Knowing that they are there, we should not pretend to show off that I am practicing, I am meditating, I am doing this and that, I don't talk, I observe noble silence. All these are pretensions, not real practice. And therefore, I have seen this. I have seen this. And therefore, perhaps you might have seen this everywhere. And therefore, if you really want to practice meditation, want to liberate from samsara, you do what you are supposed to do without expecting anything in return, without having any negative thought in mind. That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked me this question.
And a very good answer, if I may say.
I don't know.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes?
I think we have time for one more. Dear Bhante, regarding metta meditation, a certain teacher taught us to radiate to 10 directions. Another teacher taught us to radiate from our immediate surrounding and gradually outwards toward larger and larger spheres until it reaches the whole universe. Which method can Bhante advise to adopt?
I think both are equally good. Starting from one point and spreading it all directions and go to the universe. Universe is boundless. Universe is illimitable, no limit. It is in the whole universe, there can be some living beings wherever there is oxygen, wherever there is water, moisture, there living beings can exist. And we don't know how many and where. But it is very good for us to assume. We are not always trying to find facts and figures of what kind of life, where they live, and so forth. Even this astrophysicists very humbly admitted that their sphere is limited, the universe is illimitable, and even have not concluded that life exists in such and such a plane and so forth, not come to any conclusive decision. And therefore, we all assume that there are living beings anywhere in any direction, any part of the universe. And therefore, starting meditation from one point and spreading in 10 directions is also very good, because the direction itself themselves are not limited. For instance, if you think of the east, you can keep thinking of east for entire life. You will never find the end of east. Wherever you go, you can see east is still further away. Similarly, west, south, southeast, north, northeast, northwest, and so on. Go into any direction, looking for the end of that direction. You never find it. There is a discourse called Rohitasya Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, and he was once a deity, and he had supernatural powers, and he went looking for the end of the universe, and he end of the universe, and a place where there is no death, sorrow, lamentation, and so on. And he went on in all these directions, in the way we think. And he traveled 100 years, and at the speed of maybe bullet or light, because he is so powerful. And 100 years he traveled like that, and still he could not find the end of any direction. So when he came to the Buddha and reported this to the Buddha, he said, yes, you are right, but I also must say, without seeing the end of the universe, you cannot end suffering. On the one hand, we said, by traveling you cannot go to the end, find the end of the universe, but without seeing the end of universe, you cannot end suffering. That means the universe in that discourse is us. And if we don't see us exactly as we are, we cannot end suffering. When we see us as we are, we can end suffering. So Buddha first admitted what Rohitas said. Then Buddha brought him to his own senses and said, you don't try to find the universe, end of universe by traveling, but you can find yourself and end your suffering here and now, seeing this truth of appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. You cannot find any end, any part of the world. The universe is always appearing and disappearing. Every time little part of the universe arises, something arises and passes away. Something arising and passing away. That is the whole universal fact. That is the universal fact. We are in a miniature microscopic universe. In this universe, you will see what you see the macroscopic universe, or the other universe that we are, physical universe we are thinking of. And therefore, what is the question? What is the question?
Oh, it's just on a method for practicing metta.
Metta. So, metta.
Right.
So, yeah, metta also is like that. No bound, no limit, no end. We unconditionally we practice it within ourselves. I think, friends, this is a very good question. All the questions are very good, stimulating questions, and we want to wind down this session with a metta. Question is a good question to end the session, metta. So with this metta thought, let us wish all those who are suffering now, no matter where they are, homes or hospitals or wherever, may they be free from suffering and return to normal life and continue their Dhamma practice and liberate from suffering from samsara, samsaric suffering.